Okay, so good morning to the small attendees that want to hear a little bit more about simulation and coils. Thank you to Mano and the Sim&Cure team, Alexis, and also the Medtronic team to allow us to have this short moment regarding coiling and simulation. First of all, yes, this is my significant disclosure for this talk. Vincent Costalat, co-founder of Sim&Cure and consultant for Medtronic. Just a little bit of the spirit of using simulation as a whole. So today we have access to numerical planning for all the devices available in the market. So instead of trying into the patient what is fitting inside the patient, you can try it into the simulation software. You can use it for stents, for intrasaccular device, for coiling, for flow diverter. You can simulate everything you need into the numerical environment without trying into the patient. You try just in the digital twin, and once you have tested in the digital twin, then you can find the good solution for you and go into the patient to make it. So today we'll not focus on intrasaccular and the rest of the devices. We just have a focus on a new feature that is about the coil. And the coil is, I think, the oldest device available for no intervention. So it looks that this device is well known by everybody and doesn't need any improvement or any help to be used. It's just the coil. And you will see that nevertheless, the coil may be a little bit improved in terms of the ease of use and the optimization of use thanks to simulation. Basically, some very basic things that you need to know if you want to use software of simulation to plan your strategy. You need to understand that there is one need is to make a 3D array acquisition on the patient. That's everything you need. Normally, you already perform a 3D array on every patient, so you don't need any extra thing. You just need to make your 3D. Then you take the raw data of it, you put it in just your computer, and based on that, you start simulation. In clinical practice at the moment, I would say that we use this numerical interface not just for the simulation phase in the angio suite, but we also use it with the patient, meaning that we make a first 3D acquisition when we are doing a diagnostic angio, when we just discovered the aneurysms in the patient. So just make a diagnostic angio. You make a 3D run, and you will anticipate the treatment you will perform on the patient in the next 2 weeks in your desk. So you can anticipate what could be the good devices. And we also use this interface to show to the patient, not with a drawing. I used to make drawings. Now in the 3D patient, you can show what type of implant you will insert into the patient, in what location, and what is the reason for that, what are the risks related to this or this procedure. That's what we are doing, just also in the desk with the patient. We also use these simulation tools to discuss cases with the whole team. So we have a staff every week where we see all the aneurysms, the elective cases. And in 3D, we are moving the aneurysms, we are testing different devices, and people are giving their opinion to make the best decision for the patient. So it's also a tool of planification, of consultation, of multidisciplinary decision, because the surgeon also is looking at what we are doing. You see, so interface with the patient, interface with the other partners of the team to make the decision. And also inside the angio suite, of course, the D-Day, you have a new overview of the anatomy of the patient under general anesthesia, because the 3D may be a little bit more accurate when you are asleep with the patient. And then we are confirming the strategy and making the final choice of the implant size. So what about the coil? Because when you see the need a module for coiling, you see, I may understand we need a module for flow diverter because there is elongation for shortening. I may understand we need a module for intrasaccular devices because as for you change of 1 millimeter, then you can bulge into the parent artery. But why for coil? I mean, coil, we are coiling aneurysm for 25 years. Why do we need a module now to put some coils into an aneurysm? In fact, you true. You don't need a simulation software to put coil into an aneurysm. You don't need to put a simulation software to put a flow diverter. But if you want to do the best of the best you can, simulation will help you. It's the same when you use Waze. You don't need Waze to drive from a point A to a point B, but using Waze, you will achieve the best pathway in 99% of the case, instead of just relying on your experience when you may miss the point or be stuck in the traffic jam at one point in 10% of the case. So the idea is to optimize, to make the best, to give the best as you can to the patient. That's the spirit of it, the simulation. And for the coil, you may have the same value. The Axiom is the one that is simulated with the software. So the Axiom is a well-known coil that has mechanical detachment capabilities, no device no electrolytic device to detach the coil. Just have to pull it out and you can remove the coil. The coil itself is making the job pretty nicely well in terms of physics and in terms of safety when we are treating patients. But when we are using coils, there is a parameter that is still important in the literature. The volume embolization ratio, how much metal are we putting into the aneurysms? That's still a key point for the remanence of the treatment. The coiling has been started 25 years ago by the pioneer that some are there in the room here today. Fantastic treatment. And it's still there, despite 20 years of evolution of flow diverter or anything. There still needs for coil, so it's very good treatment. And the rate of recanalization with a simple coiling or assist coiling may rise up to 28% in the literature, between 20 to 25%. So yes, there is an issue with the coil. That's why there was alternative treatment like stent and flow diverter. But what we have learned from the literature is something very interesting, is that you can reduce the need for retreatment of the aneurysms if you achieve a certain level of filling of the aneurysms, what we call the volume embolization ratio. And this value has been studied in the literature very densely. Sluzinski, Michel Piotin, that is there, they have produced extremely interesting articles showing that when you can achieve a filling of more than 24% in a normal sized aneurysm, I don't speak about the giant aneurysms, in a less than 6 millimeter aneurysm, less than 7 millimeter, if you fill more than 24%, the risk of recanalization is extremely low, almost no recurrence. If you do not achieve this goal, then you are facing a more fun recanalization and then retreatment. So this is an old literature, and I think the time being, we just forgot this goal of optimal volume embolization ratio because we did not add the tool to clearly measure the volume of the aneurysms and then to understand this parameter of filling. It's impossible to take three manual measures in the angio suites, then to compute the volume, then to compute the volume of the coil, and then to, oh yes, after the first coil, I'm 10% filling of the aneurysms. So it's hard to make, so it was a little bit forgotten by the community. And we just think, okay, just fill it. And when you think it's full and you cannot put the last coil, then you stop. But this is not good. This is not good because the complication always occurs to the last coil. And the last coil, if you do not put it and there's no complication, this is a waste. Like 500 euro if in Europe, 1,000 euro if you're in US. Don't ask me why, but the waste is important. And I think in many angio suites in Europe and US, people are waiting to not put this last coil. And this last coil may be a source of complication or maybe a source of waste. And why? Because we don't just forgotten that this is something important to understand the volume embolization ratio. And that's the value for me of this new module, is that it helps you to size in a scientific way the first coil and also the next coils after that. Just give you an example. It's a case of 65 years old woman. And if you want to just put your phone and make just a picture of this, you will have the capability to vote. Very simple, just a game. I did not believe it was working. It's working. You just watch the screen and you click on it, then you can share the survey. Do it, please, because it's informative, because, yes, do it. It's amazing. So you can just yeah, you can zoom on. No, you zoom and normally yeah, and normally you no this is you. I know. Did you have it? Yeah. Normally there's a link. No, there is doesn't work for me. But you will tell me your answers. So most of you have the link. So this is the sizing of this, and this is the measurement. This is the good measurement. I mean, to make that, you need like five 5 minutes. You analyze the anatomy. You wonder where's the neck. You wonder where's the dome, and then you make few measurements. So you have these aneurysms about 4.9 millimeter height, 4.8 of width. The neck is 4.2. And I would like to ask you, what would be the first coil you would put into these aneurysms? Just tell me. So would you put a 4 by 15, a 5 by 20, a 6 by 20, a 7 millimeter by 20? Just A, B, C, D, 4 by 15. It's a, yeah, just what would you do? There is no good answer, there is no bad answer, there's just a survey, just to see how heterogeneous I hope may be the first choice. You get it? So then you will have the survey launching. So yes, so please try to vote. 5 by 20, 4 by 15, yes. 6 by 20, please keep on doing. You see, it's like a race. Yes, 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 yes. You see, it's moving. And I think that we will make that in all the ESMINT community. You will find, I mean, 30%, 30%, 20%. It's amazing, okay? Why? Because, and me in the Angel Suite, when I just have the measurement, I just have, give me a 5 by 15. There is no 5 by 15. There is a 5 by 10 or 5 by 20. Give me a 5 by 10. You know, the level of, I mean, understanding I have personally when I do my first call selection is very weak, you know. So let me show you something now. Let's think that you have your simulation software inside the room, and then you see what it will give into the patient. So this is what will give the 4 by 15 on the left, meaning the red color means there is no apposition, and you have the volume embolization ratio that will be 13%. If you give a 5 by 20, you will have 18% of filling. If you look, 18% of filling, and the position is good, green. If you give a 6 by 20, you will have 18% of embolization filling, but you start to have a strong apposition on the wall. And if you give the last one, that is a 7 by 20, you have 21% of filling, but you have too strong apposition on the wall, meaning that it will be hard to push in the patient. And the first one is extremely loose, it will float into the aneurysm. So now when you see the picture, again, what kind of coil? Please get this in memory: 4, 5, 6, and 7. So what would be your first choice based on this understanding, this visual understanding? Yes, next, sorry. You can vote now. Yeah, you see, it's amazing because it was extremely heterogeneous at first. And those guys that has voted, they are experienced people. They are treating people with coil for probably more than 10 years, as we are doing. But when you show them what is the anticipation and the simulation, you are homogenizing the decision, because you see that 5 was okay in terms of push. They saw there was a stent, so they did not need to have a maximum of position on the wall, just enough. And after they selected to have 18% volume embolization ratio with the first call was good for them. And you see almost 92% of them are making the same choice if you compare to the previous survey. Then this tool is used about for 20 years now, but you see that you can still optimize and streamline your decision making just viewing what you will do before doing it, okay? So that's the value for me that is pretty clear for the first call. So then, after this first call, you may decide what could be the next one. And again, if you ask me without that, I tell you, okay, now you give me this first call, it looks nice. It was a 20. Give me maybe just a 5 soft. What lens will ask me the radiographer. Give me a 3, a 4, a 5, I don't know. And I let the radiographer making the choice at the end. Okay, oh, fine, yes, it should be okay. It should be okay. I don't know. And then I push it. What we decide to do for this case, because you can add the following coils to see what will be the impact on the volume embolization ratio. I selected 2 coils in order to go not more than 25, especially because I had a stent, and I know from Sluzinski and Piotin, Michel Piotin, that after 24%, there is no difference in terms of outcome after a coiling. When you go after 24%, you have no difference in terms of outcome. You go 33 or 24 is the same for the patient. So why would I take the risk to go 33 for my next coils when I know that after 24, I'm done? And this is the beauty for me of the next steps of this coiling feature, is that you can understand and come back to science live in AngioSwiss because it's easy to make and you see it. We knew this data, but it was impossible to apply on a clinical routine because there was no tool to make it. And now there is tool to make it. So if I show you different option. For example, after this 25%, if I test a 4 mm by 6, I go to 30. If I test a 3 mm by 4, I go to 28. If I just stop there, I stay to 25. I said, okay. For me, there is no need to take the risk because if you don't know, oh yes, it was filling the aneurysms, please, there is maybe some room left, give me another coil. But this other coil has no value. It will not improve the final healing process of the patient. It will just add risk. And what will happen? Because when you go to 30%, there is a risk that you cannot enter the rest of the coil. You will push it, or you want to make it enter, and maybe you have a perforation of the last coil. Maybe you have a bulging of a last loop in between the stent and the wall, or maybe you retrieve it if you are lucky, and that's fine. You just lost one coil. So the cost effectiveness of the procedure may also be improved and the safety as well. So yes, the question, would you add a new coil at this stage? I already answered, but we can play the game a little bit. No, you don't need, everybody is okay. I mean, you don't want to add any coil at this stage because you know that you are done. This is the final treatment. We don't see it, but it was okay. I will do, yes, overall strategy that was performed. So this is a little bit the conclusion to be very simple. We have many devices available in our box, and it's always possible to place them without any assistance. The question is, what do you expect for your patient? Do you expect 80% success rate, 90% safety, or do you expect 99% efficacy, 99% safety? My choice is to try to make the best I can, to not rely only on my experience, but to the best scientific tool available. And I think this is really the value of it. You optimize the first coil and you control the progressive filling of the aneurysms in order to reach the target volume embolization ratio. You have decide. Could be 10% if you add a full diverter just to have some healing. Would be 25% because it's simple coiling. Because you have a stent, we just after 15%, but you act differently in your head in order to get an homogenization of the patient care. Because in the team, everybody's doing differently, but when you get this tool, then you start to do a little bit in the same way, and homogenization is also the definition of quality. Thank you very much for your attention.